Yes, hello. Welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel connecting Celtic fans all over the world, from Largs to Lagos, from Crete to Caracas. Wherever you happen to find yourself on this pale green dot, you're part of A Celtic World. And who else is part of A Celtic World? Joining us tonight, Paul in Western Australia. Good day, Paul.
Good evening, or guten Abend.
Oh, yes,
your German top on.
A nod to your German top, yeah. And ciao, Michele.
Ciao Gavin, tutto bene?
Tutto bene, tutto bene.
Meno male, va.
So, what are we going to... Well, before I tell you what we're going to talk about, these are the times that we're on. It is 10:30 a.m. in Rome, where Michael is. It's 5:30 where Paul is and where I am. And indeed, it's 9:30 in sunny Glasgow. Where
or not so
I'm
sunny
guessing,
Glasgow, is that? I think
I'm guessing Frank Brennan is. This is a very positive message from Frank Brennan. Wishing everyone a belated, happy, safe, successful, and oh yes, happy new year 2024. And a huge big well done to now showing Celtic Park as one of the time zones. That's right. That was upon his request, wasn't it? Someone said
you have to have CPT in there.
Make sure it says Celtic Park, not Parkhead. Whereas John Mulaney says, "Good morning, gentlemen, from a bitterly cold Parkhead." So there you go. All right.
You want to talk about the weather? That's quite warm here today.
Is it?
I suppose it's very strange.
It's a very pleasant 30-odd, late high 20s, low 30s after a 40-odd degree period. So I'm quite happy to be out of the heat wave and into something a little bit more temperate.
What about yourself, Gavin? How's the weather there?
Well, my computer says 30 degrees currently at 5:30 p.m. So that's where we're at. All right. So what are we talking about? Let's not talk about the weather. That's not why they tune in their thousands. They tune in to hear us talking about games. And yes, we have a game to look forward to finally. Buckie Thistle. That's the first thing. Secondly, we'll be having a pint with Will. Thirdly, we'll talk about the transfer window. And finally, Celtic socials. So let's get into the Buckie Thistle chat. Well, before we do, a bit more weather reports coming in here. Still -8, says Kaiser. Baltic here, thick snow. And I don't know if that's a reference to points or...
Actual weather, maybe, I think that.
Huh?
Real weather? Who knows?
What could that be? All right, so Buckie Thistle.
Pretty chilly at home.
What do we know of Buckie Thistle, I ask you? This is where it is. Do you know where Buckie is, Michael?
I don't know. I'm going to guess it's somewhere high up in Scotland.
It is somewhere high up there. It is.
I'm your man. I'm your man for this, Gav.
Yes, I know, because you're from...
I'm from the Broch, Fraserburgh, just along the coast. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Used to, as a kid, I used to play Banff and Keith and Buckie and Lossy and all of these teams as a young lad, all up and down that Moray coast. So yeah, it's my neck of the woods. But yeah, just a run of the mill northeast coastal small town, but
Brilliant.
with a standout kit, and obviously a massive game ahead for them this weekend.
Well, I think we should show them some respect by learning as much as we can about Buckie Thistle. So I've prepared a little quiz here for you two gentlemen to partake in. The only way this will work without being excruciating to listen to is if you just shout out an answer immediately, and I'll tell you who's right and we'll move on if you know the answer. So question number 1 to both of you. What creepy crawly is manager Graham Stewart nicknamed after?
Spider.
Spider is the right answer. What position are Buckie Thistle in the Highland League?
5th.
5th is the right answer. Where is your hometown Fraserburgh in that league?
Lower.
No, they're 2nd.
Oh, good.
I was going to say 2nd. That's one for me.
Yeah, we're usually pretty good, but I hadn't heard how we were doing this season, so apologies.
The Highland League is sponsored by Breeden. What do they do?
No idea.
They breed cattle.
You city-dwelling snob, you. No construction materials. Buckie is historically in Banffshire, which is named after the nearby town of Banff, which you can see on the map there. Where in the New World would you find another Banff?
Canada.
Is the right answer. And this is what Banff in Scotland looks like.
It is.
Yeah, it's all right. This is what Banff in Canada looks like.
I know what
Exactly
you would
the
I'd
same.
rather.
Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous?
That's stunning.
Can I give you a weird fact about Banff?
Yes.
There's another town called Macduff, which is basically it just rolls from one to the other. Like you don't know when you've left Macduff and arrived in Banff. It's just all one thing. A bit like Leeds and Bradford for our Yorkshire fans. But yeah, it just sort of rolls one into the other. But yeah, there you go.
Okay, number 6. What officious politician is the MP? Is the MP for
Douglas
Buckie's
Ross.
Moray? Can't even get the question out. Moray constituency.
Douglas
Yes,
Ross.
this gentleman
This
here.
arsehole. Yeah.
Look at that. That's like an outtake from Dumb and Dumber, isn't it?
Prick's prick.
Well, we all know what the Green Brigade think of him. They think he's a German winger from Rapid Vienna.
With a misspelling.
Now, we'll come back here for a second when I tell you the next thing. I was also looking up who are the famous people from Buckie. Does anyone know any famous people from Buckie? I'm guessing
Gordon Robertson, the former right winger and PE teacher from my high school.
Is not what I'm looking for. That's not the answer on the
Okay,
card, I'm
sorry.
afraid.
A fine gentleman, Gordon Robertson was. So, little shout out to Gordon.
Isla Sinclair. Is that a name that rings any bells?
She's a singer, is she?
She is a singer.
Yeah.
And you probably know her best from Mickey. This is your era. Well, we're kind of all the same era, I suppose. The Generation Game.
Oh, that's for my time. I'll tell you that for sure.
Mickey, do you remember Larry Grayson and Isla Sinclair on the Generation Game?
It looks like I saw wearing the Celtic top in the front row there.
Oh, Jesus Christ. How did you pick that out of all the things I see?
So that's straight away. That's what you always look for when you look at crowds. You always look for Celtic tops.
Horizontal
there you go.
stripes.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick. I was always Bruce Forsyth, Generation Game. Oh, and then that arsehole, what's his face? Davidson. He did it for a bit, did he not?
But this guy was an interesting character on our TVs. Here he is again with Isla Sinclair. Larry seems to be in his element there, popping himself into a wide open ring. Oops, shut that door. Anyway, let's leave that prickly subject behind and return to the other prickly subject of Thistle. So, that was fun. How big a deal is it for Buckie Thistle, Paul? Tell us, how massive is this game for them?
It's huge. The money they'll make off this tie will set them up for years to come. My understanding is a good chunk of the squad are Celtic fans, but they'll be taking it seriously. I'm sure in their heart of hearts they wouldn't expect to get anything out of the match, but they'll be coming to put up a decent showing, and probably, you know, I'm sure they'll talk about an upset and all that publicly, but really they'll be looking to come and not get horsed, essentially, and not embarrass themselves. But they're a non-league club at the end of the day. They don't have the kind of leveler of their own ground or a small ground somewhere else in terrible conditions. The weather's not going to be great in Scotland this weekend, and it isn't great across the country now, but at Celtic Park it'll be about as good as it'll get. And regardless of whether we'll come into this in a bit, however strong we put the side out or not, there should be far and away enough quality to win the match. So they'll be looking to put a good showing, not embarrass themselves, and anything beyond that is a bonus. They've already won the lottery by getting the Celtic draw. The cash, like I say, the cash they'll make of this and exposure they'll get from this will set them up for years to come. So they'll be quite happy with their run to this point. Anything else from here is a bonus.
Yeah, they're going to be making upwards of 200,000, I hear, which would take care for running costs for at least 2 years. Their president is an oil and gas guy. Did you know that? Gary Farquhar, who has apparently put $1 million into the club over the course of the last 10 years.
Well, two things here. One, not surprised he's an oil and gas from that neck of the woods, and he would pronounce it Farquhar. So I'll correct you on that.
Not Farquhar.
There's no Farquhars in the northeast of Scotland. It's Farquhar. And yeah, I'll fix that for you. But yeah, it doesn't. Okay. I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise. In that neck of the woods, pretty much all the money. Back in the day, it would have been fishing, North Sea fishing. Now it's pretty much exclusively oil and gas. So yeah, it's good that they've got an owner that's got that kind of background.
And Viaplay are providing a free feed of the tie to the Buckie Thistle Social Club, allowing senior citizens unable to travel to the match to enjoy it. Isn't that nice? Does that warm the cockles of your heart, Michael?
Oh, very much so. Good old Viaplay, also known as Premier Sports in Ireland.
Is it Viaplay or Viaplay? Am I mispronouncing everything? I'll be saying.
Well, I say Viaplay probably because I'm reading it as an Italian reading it. I would call it Viaplay.
I'll be saying
probably is Viaplay.
I'll be saying Rogic next.
Oh,
not again.
That would be unforgivable.
Leave it alone.
Are we going to have another round of elocution lessons?
Here we go. Lord Farquhar is the mental image cemented by Gav. Very good. That's what I thought of too.
Did we not get confirmed by Bishop Farquhar? Is it not him? We did.
That's right. There was a Bishop Farquhar.
I think he died recently, actually. Tony Farquhar.
Fascinating. Breaking news here, Celtic fans.
Tony Farquhar died about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, Jesus.
Right. What else do we know? Yeah, you were saying about the players. Quite a few of them are Celtic fans. Here's a couple other little tidbits of information. Midfielder Dale Wood is a Celtic fan. He says he can't wait to be on the pitch, hear the fans singing. And he says he might be trying not to sing along because he loves to come down to Celtic Park and watch the games when he can. And striker Josh Peters is the first cousin of who in the Celtic squad?
James Forrest.
James Forrest. I'm going to have to rush you, Paul.
No idea.
Come
Stephen
on,
Welsh.
just names. Correct. For God's sake.
Good guess.
Well done. You have nailed this quiz, Paul. Well done. I'm so proud. Yes, he's Stephen Welsh's first cousin. Their mums are sisters. So they were saying it'd be nice if they could share the pitch. So, if we are a few goals up and the game's in the bag, if you see Welsh coming on, you'll know that has sentimental reasons. Okay, so expected starting lineup, Michael. Let's hear your voice. Tell us who you're expecting to see. Any surprises? Any new people?
I think it'll probably be the usual. I think because I've had a decent rest, he might as well put out a good team to start with. I'd say put out. Is Carter-Vickers fit now? Is he?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Yeah, it'll be the usual.
We've heard nothing about it, so I don't know.
Obviously, Hitati's away. Maida's away. So it'll be McGregor, O'Reilly, and who else will be in the middle?
Bernardo.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Let's say Palma, Kyogo. Maybe a Bada good start.
Or Kuhn.
You think Kuhn will start?
I actually think he'll come off the bench. I think about it. If Abada's fit, he'll start, and then Kuhn will be. I would play our absolute strongest, most experienced team from the start, and maybe rotate the majority at halftime, assuming we're comfortable at that point.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, it's possible he'll come on. It'd be funny if the game was actually going to be played in Buckie, and that was his first taste of Scottish football. He'd be thinking, "What the hell?" sort of a country do I find myself in? Which reminds me, I've got a message here from Stephen McDonald saying hello from Nicaragua. Is that genuine? That's exciting if that's where you're checking in from. Nicaragua. Yeah, so anything else should we talk about? Well, I mean, this is a game we should win comfortably. It's not going to be another Darvel, is it? What would it have to be for things to go spectacularly wrong, Paul? What would have to happen?
You need every weird star in the world to align for them to get a result. I just can't. It's just not going to happen. Like, obviously, Darvel beat Aberdeen, but it was an away fixture midweek. You know, terrible weather. Blah blah blah. The weather's not going to be great, but I think it's going to be a reasonable temperature and it's going to be a bit wet. It's actually probably going to be quite favourable conditions for us to zip the ball around, and just. Yeah, we might be a little bit rusty, but we should be itching to get back into it. Even if it takes a little while, the class and fitness will absolutely come to the fore eventually. So I'd expect us to be 2 or 3 to the good at least by half time, and probably 4 or 5 by the end. If they keep it under 5, even they've done well, to be honest, in that fixture. So I don't expect any kind of potential upset or even to be particularly close. I think it's going to be, as I say, they've already, their big win is getting to this point, and I'm sure they'll go out and try and be competitive, but it's not gonna, like, we've humbled a lot better teams than Buckie Thistle this season, and it's not going to be any different.
So you're over 17 minutes in, and I haven't heard anyone say no disrespect to Buckie Thistle. That's usually what you hear in these conversations. Michael, if you were Spider, what would you be telling your players?
The Buckie players, but no disrespect to Celtic, but I would just say go out and enjoy the day. It's one of those ones, isn't it? It's like, just enjoy yourself. Some of your Celtic fans, you played at Celtic Park in front of a big crowd. Just go out and enjoy yourself. Play as well as you can and try not to get humped, basically.
Yeah, it's an experience of a lifetime. It's an experience of a lifetime. They've already won by getting this fixture. Like, I'm sure he'll want, if he gets them to halftime and it's 0-0, that's dreamland for them. I can't really see that would be the case, but I would expect him to set them out to be difficult to break down, hard, work hard and see what happens. But they'll sit deep, and I know nothing about them technically, but I imagine there's probably one guy that's got a half decent long throw and one guy that's got a half decent set piece delivery, and anything inside our half they will try and launch into the box and hope for something. It's worked for loads of other teams, so why wouldn't that be your game plan? But if they can keep it to a low score and if they can get a goal, even, they've done phenomenally.
You don't think they'll come out all guns blazing and try and nick an early goal and then put everyone behind the ball on the line? That's what I'd be telling them to do. Come out, give it Dixie for the first. And instead of trying not to go behind, forget that.
Do you think Spider is taking his tactics from Roy of the Rovers? Is that what you're expecting?
Well, this is a Roy of the Rovers moment, is it not?
Well, it could be, maybe, who knows? I just don't expect it to happen. But why not? Yeah, to the point you're making, it doesn't matter whether they get beat.
Trying to make there.
But they might as well get beat 8-0 as 1-0, right? It's not a big deal. They're not going to get any further. So, yeah. Frank Brennan enjoying that. Yeah, Largs to Lagos.
First time those two have been mentioned in the same sentence.
It's Frank just back from his holidays. He feels very upbeat.
Yeah, he's very upbeat. Have you been to Largs, Paul? Yeah.
Well, actually, it's funny you should mention that. This wasn't pre-planned, but I've got a good answer for this. I've actually been on 2 SFA coaching courses as a child at the Largs SFA residential coaching facilities when I was in my teens. So yeah, I have been to Largs.
To be coached as a player or a coach?
Well, no, to be coached as a kid, you could be lodged with the SFA as like I think it's a way to like promote your football, but get you away from your parents for a week. So your parents like pay to stick you off the SFA, and they give you a bunch of football coaching. So yeah, I met or me and my brother met Walter Smith's kids at one of those. He was a bit older than us. One of the main coaches was Dick Campbell. Most recently of I think Arbroath. He was a character at Arbroath, but he was a character way back 30 years ago, 30 odd years ago when I was a teenager. So yeah, fun and games and Largs. But
did you go for an ice cream in Nardini's?
I didn't. We sort of kept to the grounds of the SFA's sort of quite swanky grounds, actually. They're probably charging a fortune to parents to send their kids off to be vaguely coached to a not very high level.
Speaking of bumping into famous people, Northampton Tim is asking, now where do I know Michael from? I'm sure I've met him. Do you want to give a clue to where that might be, Michael?
I have the clue. I've never been to Northampton anyway.
He might have been to your pub though.
Yes.
Possibly.
Where's your pub?
In Rome, pub in Rome. Finnegan's, maybe you came there.
Finnegan's in Rome. Northampton Tim, if you've been in there for a pint of Guinness after visiting the Colosseum. That's most likely it. If Gav starts singing, Frank's upbeat attitude will evaporate very quickly. Well, we'll have to see about that. But for now, we're going to take a little break and we're going to go to a different pub. This is Muddy Murphy's in Singapore, where I had a quick pint. This lasts about 8 minutes, I think, with a Celtic fan called Will, who's part of the Sing Tims. So let's watch that. All right, so here we are, Muddy Murphy's, home of the Sing Tims. And who are we talking to?
Will Haggerty. Hi.
What's your story, Will? Where are you from?
Originally from Rutherglen, southeast of Glasgow. First went to my Celtic games as a wee kid. We'd walk all the way from Fernhill in Rutherglen. Me and my mate, Robert McCallum, and his dad, we'd walk all the way down to Celtic Park. It was an education, passing all these little kids saying, "Mister, can I look after your car for you?" Stuff like that. So it was, that's what it was like. And, get a lift over the turnstile. So that was my first experience of Celtic as a kid.
So we were talking earlier, you were telling me about the street you lived in and the families who were there. And you're not from a traditionally Celtic background. Tell us about that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mean, where I was, there was a block of 4 houses just across from us. There was a family I still remember well, the Mackays, who were very much a Rangers family. Then there was the McCallums, very much a Celtic family. Then there's the Clarks, very much a Celtic family. Then there's the Donohues, which are mostly female, but yeah, they were certainly Celtic family as well. So, as a kid, back in those days, because the way I'd grown up, that was a totally different culture to me. So, learning about Celtic, its history from the McCallum family. My best friend, Robert McCallum, a guy who lives out in Perth in Australia now. He's about 3 years older than me. I was mentioning to Gav earlier, he's still the best football player I've played with to this day.
We haven't played yet, you see. That's why he's saying that, because we haven't played yet.
Yeah. Okay, I look forward to seeing your silky skills in the morning, Gav. Yeah. But seriously, this guy was a great player. He played for Larnac United in the juniors. He was at Dumbarton when Dumbarton were in the top league. When the ex-Rangers guy Davy Wilson was manager there, and then at quite a young age he emigrated, should I say, over to Australia. Lives in Perth. And his daughter turned out to be an amazing football player. I think even to this day now, Colette McCallum, she actually has an award for Australian ladies footballers in her name. And so then next to them, I say, was the Clarks, Jim and John. Yeah, keen Celtic fans, and the Donahues who were girls, but like I mentioned, they were clearly very much Celtic fans. So back to the culture thing, it was just amazing for me. I'd never seen Irish country dancing, anything like that. The music that would get played on the gramophone, the record player, I'd never heard music like that before, so it was just really quite amazing for me.
Let's talk about musical references for a moment.
Yeah.
Before you come over to talk to me, somebody mentioned you could do a good turn as a Rod Stewart impersonator. That fine head of hair.
Yeah, maybe the fine head of hair, but I can't sing anything like him there.
Uh-huh.
No, I do have a ticket to go and see him in March when he comes here.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you're still a fan, despite him
I
giving
wouldn't
the
say I'm really
Green Brigade the finger?
I wouldn't really say I'm a fan of Rod Stewart, but he's I liked his early stuff
an icon.
when he was
Yeah,
in
the
the
Faces.
Faces and stuff, and a lot of his early solo stuff. But
Yeah.
the Faces, yeah, absolutely, yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah.
And you also are in good terms with Def Leppard, I hear.
That's correct. Yeah. I mean, I've known the Def Leppard guys, well, the main core of the band for about 30 years now. The main guy being Viv Campbell, the guitar player from Northern Ireland, and Phil Collin, the other guitar player. Yeah, Phil used to play in a band called Girl, and I used to hang about with them, back in the day.
You a bit
So,
of a muso yourself?
it's funny enough, I've got a Les Paul guitar that's followed me all around the world for many, many years, but all I do is kind of dust it. I don't really play it. It's a bit like a relic that I carry around. But,
Yeah. It's like the View thing. Do you know the View?
I do, yeah. I saw them in Dublin, actually.
On a new guitar that's never been played before.
Yeah.
And I never will.
Yeah.
For Hearts. Big Hearts game.
Yeah,
What are you
yeah.
expecting?
What do I
We
expect?
talked about this earlier.
Mm.
It's hot and cold. Every time we do well, the next game we're absolute shit. What are you expecting?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be potentially different because we've been used to European games where we've not done so well. And then it comes to like the Saturday afterwards, then we tend to pick up and we
Yeah.
do well. Now we've actually done well against Feyenoord. So I'm hoping we can actually build that on that momentum
Yeah.
and we can actually do very, very well tonight. Yeah. And I'm confident we will do. I'm not a big Hearts fan anyway, but
You're not? No,
it's-
strange.
but especially when Naismith in charge, it's like, oh man, I'm not sure he knows much about football, to be fair. I don't really expect him to be in charge there for much longer.
He's got a good haircut, though. Give him that.
Has he? Yeah. Okay.
What was I going to ask you? Okay, so you're like an old school Celtic fan.
Yeah.
You've seen him come and go. Do you have a greater patience, you think, than the younger crowd? What are your feelings towards the board, towards Brendan?
Let's take the board first of all. It depends how you look at it, because I think in general, when you look, we've won 12 championships out of 13. Now, when I was a little kid growing up, even amongst, the 9 in a row. 9 in a row was just incredible, yeah. And we've done another 9 in a row, and say part of that is like 12 championships out of 13. So the board probably deserve a lot of credit for that. At the same time, because we are Celtic and we've always had this rich kind of European pedigree, we do expect to go and do better.
Yeah.
But there is that younger element, because we've had that 12 out of 13, that just expect that we'll always be Celtic, we'll always win, trebles coming out of our ears or whatever. And really, in the real world, it's just not that way, even though we want to maintain that and do as best as we can. But sometimes you have to take the rough with the smooth.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Rodgers?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was glad to see him come back. When Ange moved on, I was at a football game here in Singapore, watching a Lions City Sailors game. There's a couple of Tottenham fans there, and they said to me, "It looks like you're going to lose your manager." And at the time, I was like, "No way, it's not going to happen," because he's going to want his crack at the Champions League. But I do remember, I think it was the cup final, and you saw his agent coming on, and there was a couple of chats, and you saw Ange at one point, he was kind of shaking his shoulders a wee bit. And when I saw that, I thought, oh man, I think maybe he is going to go. So, that was a big shock. But to me, you know, yeah, it was bad the way Brendan left, but I think he was the best choice as a manager coming back again. And it's probably good for him in many ways because it's maybe not as easy as he thought it might be coming back again. And, you know, it's tougher for him. And that maybe that's going to be the making, maybe not just of him, but, you know, as Celtic this season as well.
All right, good man. Thank
Thank
you
you.
kindly.
Cheers,
You
mate.
got a message for the Celtic world fans?
You know, keep following this man. This man's doing an absolute cracking job. You know, no, seriously, he is. You know, especially, you know, out here in Asia, you know, we maybe get starved a wee bit. Sometimes, you know, when you get a point of view from maybe some of the podcasts back in Scotland or whatever, it tends to be maybe tainted a wee bit different or whatever. Maybe we don't quite hear so much the negative stuff here, but I don't mean to be negative, but, you know, it's, you know, certainly, you know, follow Celtic World, follow Gav, keep it up, and you know, I certainly will be, and I'll be interested to hear your comments about my comments.
All right. Good man. Cheers.
Cheers. All the best, mate. Cheers.
Well, there you go. It'll be interesting to hear your comments about his comments. Take it away.
Paul.
I think he talks a lot of sense, to be honest. A haircut and a half, but nothing too. Obviously, the Hearts result didn't happen. Pair of Jonas,
No.
but beyond that, yeah. Look, I think Rodgers was a solid appointment given the circumstances, and yeah, we were picking up form at that point in time, and it's obviously it's gone on from there. So he was a little bit ahead of it by saying that we've been poor in Europe and then good afterwards, and hopefully he alluded to the fact maybe we were good and we could be bad without saying it, and that's exactly what happened. So hopefully that to and fro in sort of at an end, and we can push on from here.
You did make a good point. We were definitely spoiled rotten at the moment for trophies. That's for sure.
There goes the
you know,
Roman ambulance. Oh,
there
we
goes, yeah, because I mean, we're just winning so many trophies these days that you just expect it all the time now. But when I used to go to see Celtic years ago, it was nothing like that at all. In fact, the first season that I had a season ticket was the year we played at Hampden. And we think we drew 16 matches. We finished about 4th or 5th in the league. Didn't even qualify for Europe. So let's just enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, speaking of being good in Europe and enjoying the good moments while they last, Northampton Tim has identified when it was that he came across you, Mick.
Oh, there it is.
Yes, in Rome, 2019, in Cham goal. I assume he was in the pub after that and not turning around to embrace and jump up and down to the nearest Celtic fan, which was you.
Maybe.
You told us about that before, about how the place went absolutely mental, how great a feeling that was. Was that like one of the highlights for you? Of
the
ever?
Incham goal? Absolutely. Yeah. Incredible. I was just able to hold my head high for the next load of years. All the Lazio fans around.
Lazio fans. Okay. All right. Well, let's move it on. That was good to talk to Will. Let's get on to the next section, which is player chat. So players in, first of all. Big news is, hooray, we have announced Nicholas Kuhn. He's been revealed. And he was shown around Celtic Park. I don't know if you endured the nauseating banality of Jerry McCullough, like I did. And all of his, how much are you looking forward to? Questions. Holy Moses.
I watched that just, I finally, I thought I should watch that before I came on. I watched it just before I came on here. Jerry was in the car with him to the ground, and it's just, I don't know. Like, this is obviously a thing on social media these days. You've got to do all of that. I just feel really sorry for the player that has to go through, one, just to go through the whole thing with the camera pointing at him, but then to have Jerry McCullough gibbering away in your ear in not your first language. Like, it's just the poor bastard, right? Like, it's, he's been through the mill for days. He just wants the thing to happen. He probably just wants to pull a shirt on and get on the pitch, but Yeah. The less said about that, the better, probably.
Well,
But
Kaiser
yeah,
doesn't
I think that's
agree.
fair point.
Wasn't exactly Bang Bros, but
Who are they?
I mean, what's that?
Who are they?
You look it up after the show.
No idea.
Um,
No idea either, Mickey. Not just you. I've got no idea.
But
Check
yeah,
Gav's
so
browser history.
there was poor Nicholas in the stadium being forced to look around, and the disco lights were going and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
It was funny, wasn't it?
At least he wasn't like being forced to have a loving cup sip and all that. Fucking look
Oh,
at a bike
sure.
and stuff like that. It's not that bad. Could be worse.
Did you catch the review on Clyde One Super Scoreboard, Michael?
I did not.
There was an Austrian guy called Dorian Schuster from Transfermarkt, and he came on to be asked, what does he think of this guy? Paul, did you catch his story?
I'm aware of the story. I didn't watch it. Apparently, it's a hatchet job, which sounds about right for that particular show. Honestly, these lot, you don't believe a word that comes out any of them. Like, it's clickbait. It's I've got no interest.
I didn't say it either. Well, let me tell you what he said.
Everyone's an Austrian specialist, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, his two negatives were he's injury prone, and his shooting is honestly sometimes terrible. He wastes many chances. But he did also say he's a special player in the sense that he has fantastic dribbling skills, cutting in on the left foot, and his right is also good. So there's no worries about that. He's a fast player, but he's injury prone. I don't know if he'll have fun with Scottish defenders. So he said his shooting was sometimes terrible, and then the headline I saw on whatever news outlet it was honestly terrible. It was the review that this guy was getting. Didn't mention nice things in the headline, obviously. But then the key to it for me was he says he thinks the fee is a bit inflated because the fee on Transfermarkt was 1.5 million euro. So he kind of has to justify their valuation, doesn't he? Otherwise he's admitting that Transfermarkt's a load of bollocks.
Well, it is. We know it is. It's never near the mark. Like they guess, and then the market does what the market does. That like the best, like anything, the best value in the market is what somebody's willing to pay. So if somebody wants to pay 3 or 3.5, that's his market value. It just is, right? So
yeah.
Transfer market's a reasonably good source for some stuff, but they've tried to position themselves like the be all and end all, and it's and people that enjoy Football Manager and all that sort of stuff sort of seem to hang their hat on it being like the be all and end all. And at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of dudes doing some stats and hoping for the best. It's no more or no less.
Here's a good point from Kaiser. He should come on sometime, don't you think? Maybe just chat with us. Maybe one of these days when I invite him, he'll rock up and make some of these good points, which is something that I'd also thought of. That sounds like what I heard. Nothing about injury prone, but his shooting. The German Maeda was the shout. Imagine you had to go on Austrian radio and describe Maeda. You'd probably say something like he can't control a football, but he's good to have. And then the headline would be he can't control a football. I mean, the man with the Maeda's touch, everything he touches turns to goal kicks. That's what I like to say. You like that, Michael?
I love that. It's just strange that he doesn't seem to be able to score any goals, but Brendan Rodgers was interviewed yesterday and he seemed to say the same thing. He said we need to work on his shooting and all that kind of stuff. So Brendan Rodgers knows he can't score goals, which is a bit strange.
Well, if he's providing service,
Yeah.
that's fine. We don't have to. It'd be nice if he could chip in with a few, but if his main role is to feed Kyogo, who doesn't get fed much,
we'll have to see. The jury's out on Kuhn for the moment, anyway.
I'm pretty happy with the signing. From obviously the little clips, anyone can look great, but tie that into a bit of commentary. he's got pace to burn, which Rodgers likes. He can play either side. His delivery off both feet is good. I'm not too bothered about his shooting because that's not really his main thing. His main thing is to provide service to the central areas. And Rodgers, I think one of the biggest thing for me is Rodgers has been very, very positive about the signing, which says to me that, you know, he is a fully verified signing, a fully positive signing from his point of view. So yeah, like I don't know what people expect. I think there's a lot saying, and I know you did the segment Project or Proven on Monday, but we're not going to sign a player that's, you know, going to rip it up in the Champions League or is already ripping it up in the Premier League. That's not where we're signing. We're signing players on the up, or we're signing players on the way back down. So regardless of how much money we throw at players, we're not having a final article where even the players we spend a lot of money on. Look at Jota. You know, he came to us on loan and he did well, and we spent a fair amount of money on him. But if we'd spent that amount of money on him when he first came on loan, everybody said, why are we spending that amount of money on a project? He's done nothing. He's been in Benfica B, blah, blah, blah. So that's where we sit. That's where we are. Like it or not, that's the situation we're in. It's good to have one in the door. I hope we're not losing anyone that's key. We need 4 good wingers. So yeah, hopefully it's not winning one out of the key players.
Michael Ross seems to be a similar type of player to Nicholas Kuhn. He says after a lot of dribbling, it can be hard to shoot, so he empathizes with that. Frank Brennan says, here we go. This is more like the old Frank Brennan we know and know. Like it or not, the facts are only that Kuhn's figures hitherto are not very good, and so hence a £2.8 million transfer fee. And is he really the quality Rodgers has been bleating on about for months? I mean, it remains to be seen.
Well, there's a good. I don't know if you won't have this to hand, because I'm sure, Gav, because we talked about this and shared this a couple of weeks ago when it was just started to be discussed. But there's a good bit of stat work that he's actually in the top 12 wingers in Europe for chance creation. Now, that doesn't necessarily qualify into XG because players then, their ability to finish is poor. But yeah, he was in, I think, the top 12, 11 or 12 of chance creation. So I'm happy to give this one to Rodgers and go, we've got our man. Let's get on with it, see how we go. It strengthens the wide positions for sure. And yeah, let's see how we go second half of the season. We need more. We need a couple more, but it's a good start.
One of the things I found most striking about his YouTube compilation was how absolutely awful the Rapid Vienna strikers are. Because,
yeah, they're dreadful.
He kept putting the ball in, and then they're fluffing it all over the place.
And that's why his assists. And the thing, people criticize him saying he's low in goal scoring and low in assists. Well, his main job isn't goal scoring, and he's laid a ton on a plate, and people have missed him. So yes, his assists are going to be down. So that's why that chance creation stat, which he's in the top 12 for the first half of the season in Europe, is actually useful because you can only create them. You can't make strikers finish them.
Okay, let's move it on from him then. How about the Owen Beck talk? Michael, are you excited about this? Do you think it's going to happen? Is it just paper talk?
Probably just paper talk, but it would be nice to get someone like that in the door, that's for sure. And it's a position that we really do need extra cover for, or a better player for. So it would be nice to get him in, but I'd say it's probably unlikely.
I agree with Pete here. This is us kind of just going back to that one, writing off players that I haven't seen them kick a ball. If there's anything we learned from that segment we did the other day, it's that some players come in and some of them have a long period of time where they do absolutely nothing. And then once it all clicks into place, so they go out on loan or something, before you know it, they cement their place in Celtic history.
Well, you'd only have to look at Paulo Bernardo. It's only a few weeks ago people will say he's a waste of time. We'll never sign him permanently. 2 weeks go by and it's like, give them the money now, make him like, we're so fickle and I'm sure it's not just Celtic fans, it's every football fan base, but everybody's an expert as we are on here sort of giving our opinion. Everybody assumes, but people are so quick to jump to a judgment and go, he's crap, that's not going to happen, blah blah blah. It's kind of nonsense, isn't it?
Did you know Owen Beck is Ian Rush's nephew?
I didn't know that. But like, I agree with Mickey on this. I absolutely think it's lazy paper talk. I don't doubt for a second that there's a conversation going on there, but he's gone back from Dundee, so it's like, oh, something's going to happen. Liverpool have got a massive left back crisis. Robbo's injured. I can't remember the other kid's name, but he's injured as well. And they're not going to know until the end of the month, very close to the end of the window, if who's fit. So he's not going to be allowed to go until right at the death. And if we signed him right at the death, because they decide they've got enough cover, you know what will happen? People go, it's a whether we've been planning it for 4 weeks or 10 weeks or 2 months, and we've scouted him all season, we'll say, oh, it's a panic buy at the last minute. Like, there's a lot of moving parts in these. I don't doubt that Owen Beck is on the radar. He's done really well at Dundee. He's played well against us. But he's 21 and Liverpool obviously rate him reasonably highly. I've read multiple things that, is there a bet? Like, I can't see him coming to us if there isn't an option to buy, really. And I've read some things that say maybe his development would be suited better to going on loan to, a lower league English club. So that if there's any fact in that, then they're still considering keeping him. And that wouldn't be a massive surprise if they are. So I think there's a bit of paper talk in there. And I know there's a lot of Celtic fans saying, well, if we don't have an option to buy, why would you commit to bringing him till the end of the season? Because he wouldn't be a start. He would be a backup to Taylor. I would say. Sorry, my dogs are kicking off. Hopefully it's not too loud. And he would be a backup to Taylor. And there's Mitchell Frame has he's only had some minutes, but I would rather see him, if we've not got an option to buy on a loan for Beck, I would much rather see somebody like Mitchell Frame get a crack and see what he does. Obviously, we want to see a finished article to genuinely compete with Taylor. But if it's a choice of Beck with no option to buy, let's give Frame a crack.
I had muted my microphone because my dog was going crazy too. Well, you steered us away from the mention of Ian Rush, which was a bit disappointing because I was trying to link to this and say I could get on the phone to my mate Rushy and see if I could pull a few strings.
There you go.
This is when he was over here. He came here, would you believe, to this little part of the world, and like had a weekend of, had an evening and Q&A session and all that sort of stuff. So
in Borneo?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's us on a sweaty night out in Borneo a few years ago. You can tell it's a few years ago because there's still a suspicion of hair. Somewhere in the middle.
Obviously, blue shirts are mandatory at this event.
Yeah, the blue shirts all around. I noticed that. Anyway, that's me.
I can never take Rushy seriously without the tash. Like the quintessential Rushy is back in the day with the tash.
Yeah, he looks different.
It's the lead. I think he lost the tash around the time he went to Leeds. So I sort of always think.
What a great striker he was! So ridiculous.
What
about Kelleher? Well, let's talk about the goalkeeping position. Is that worth talking about? Even this window?
Well, you know my view on the goalkeeping position. We absolutely need to sign. We need to sign one this window. It doesn't have to be a competitive goalkeeper to knock Hart off. But we don't want Bain as a second choice, for crying out loud. I think we should have a second choice keeper in the mix, and Bain should be bumped to third, and Siegrist should be gone. I think Kelleher is another one that I think it's smoke and mirrors on that as well. again, I think Keller's another lazy connection. He's Irish, so he must be on our radar. He's Liverpool, so Rodgers is aware of him. He's played nearly no football. He's 25 years old. The fee is rumored to be anywhere between 10 and 20 million. The wages are rumored to be anywhere between 10 and 80 grand a week. I don't know. I don't think that's a going concern for me.
Well, one thing in his favour is his height, as pointed out by Just an Ordinary Boy. Don't know if you saw this. We'd be signing a really big player in Kevin Kelleher. See his height there?
My God.
32 feet 5 inches.
I commented on that tweet and said, clearly the proposed fee is so high because we're paying by the centimetre.
Yeah, keep it low. You'll never save it.
And as somebody mentions here, Michael Ross mentions Hakon Valdimarsson is a better option. That's the Icelandic goalkeeper.
I think agree with that as well.
Yeah, it's a more realistic option.
Where's he playing now? It's Elfsborg.
Elfsborg, yeah, Elfsborg.
Jason
It's a much more realistic option. I would definitely try and go for him.
6'2". Are you excited by the fact that he's the Icelandic goalkeeper, or like an international goalkeeper? Does that figure into your thoughts? Because do you know what the population of Iceland is?
Is it like 300,000 or something, or 700,000?
376,000.
Yeah.
And that's approximately the same population as Stoke-on-Trent. So he's the best goalkeeper in Stoke-on-Trent. Isn't that mad that Iceland has such a small population?
And they do pretty well.
It'd be fun. I've seen a lot of people try and compare it. It'd be funnier if he was from Finland, because then we could say he's finished. He's not finished. He's only 23.
Oh yeah.
The old
referencing there.
Antti Niemi classic, which is always worth a read.
Okay, someone was yearning for. Sorry, I better do this first. Someone was yearning for a little musical treat, and we have one for you. But it's a special treat because it's not me performing it. This is by one of our other contributors. One that is smiling coyly and swiveling in his chair as we speak.
Might be good then.
On guitar and vocals. This is a transfer window song in the style of the Smiths. So here we go.
Good time for a change. See the board I have can make a good man turn back. So please, 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 let me sign who I want this time. Haven't signed a decent player for a long time. See the board I have, make a good man bad. So for once in my life, let me sign who I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. Lord knows it would be the first time.
Nice one, Mickey.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Nice one, mate. I got love it. I'm saying I love a bit of Smiths. So yeah, top tune and yeah, good effort. And tune carried much better than the normal vocals we see on this channel. So
How
good
dare
stuff.
you? There's some praise coming in for you, Mick. And I like your little Pope Francis when you're singing Lord Knows It Would Be the First Time.
Glad you noticed.
Right there.
It's sad that the lyrics are so accurate as well. It would be nice that he was allowed to fast improvement. Yeah, I agree. Mickey on main vocals for now.
Yeah, well, John Clements. No, well, it's okay.
I think
fight back.
Frank's a
We'll
bit harsh
continue
because
with
he went
Clements.
sound down before he heard it was Mickey. So I think he's
He always
judging it
puts
by
the
your-
sound down. That's
I think
just
he was
his-
judging it by your usual vocals, to be fair. So it's fair.
How's Keith? How's it going there, Keith? Right. So, okay. I don't think we should talk too much about other players. Do you want to get into CCV for 5 minutes, Paul?
I will give you a real quick devil's advocate view in CCV. I absolutely don't want him to go. Is where I'll start with this. But I can see where some people are coming from with the chat about if an offer comes. If he wants to go. So if he wants to go, you don't want to keep a player that isn't happy. I definitely wouldn't want him to go this window. But if we think he's probably going to go in the summer, I think it depends what kind of offer comes in. That injury has kept him out of. If you look at all our big games, he's pretty much missed all of them. He's missed both derbies. He's missed most of the Champions League. If you're looking at the fodder in the rest of the league, now I'm being flippant, but we should have enough to deal with that. Yes, if he's going to go this window, I'd want another centre back in. But there's a tipping point coming where if an offer comes for him that's silly, then we probably have to consider it. Look at KT. So we got 25 million for him, and he's barely played a season since. We absolutely cashed him in at the best point in time. We flogged him we're responsible for how injury prone Kieran Tierney has been because we flogged him since he was 17. So we got 25 million from that. Was great. If the offer is 20 million plus for CCV, we've got to consider it. But that said, I am playing devil's advocate just for a bit of a laugh. Even if he was only fit for half the games between now and the end of the season, I would keep him. Hands down, I would keep him. But Kaiser's not far off for me. He's saying 15 million, punt him right now. I don't disagree that there's a
I hate the thought of him leaving, though.
So do I. But and it's a really small sample size. But Nawrocki's looked good playing from the right. My concern is I don't think, and I've said this many times, Scales has been good and he's playing above himself, but I don't think he's the long-term solution on the left. So regardless of whether Nawrocki is a first pick going forward, I don't think Scales is it. So we're still one solid centre back short. So if we were, and I let's be clear, I'm not advocating selling CCV this window. But if he were to go, say he says, I've got to go, this is my best opportunity to go back to the Premier League and prove myself. You're not going to keep an unhappy player. We've got to have a first team ready centre back, and we've got loads of centre backs we know we have, but we don't trust any of them. Beyond Nawrocki and Scales, really. We've got to have somebody else lined up to come in. But there's that injury could be a niggle, or it could be something more, serious that we never really get him back to being a regular player. So I'd push him through to the summer, and if it does look like it's going to be ongoing, and he wants to go, I wouldn't force any player out the door that's as good as he is. But if he wants to go, I'd let him go in the summer for a decent fee, but probably not less than 15 to 20 mil.
It's funny the way the mind plays tricks on you, but when I was doing some of that research, gathering the data for the feature we did on the last show about players we'd signed who'd been good or not good, it's most players stay for quite a short time when you look back at it. You should be surprised how few games people have played for us. Like Matt O'Reilly's just gone over the 100 mark. And you're looking back at some of these players who you remember as being amazing, you loved them, and they played 80 games, 65
90 games. Yeah.
That's incredible. So, yeah, I mean, he hasn't been the same since the injury, but
I'm absolutely all for keeping him. Unless you've got a really good replacement, and it's hard to say you get a better replacement if fully fit.
No chance.
Michael, tell us what are your thoughts on CCB?
I think we absolutely have to keep him. I think he's our best player. He's the player we miss the most when he's not playing. Whenever he's out of the team, it's just like disaster. There's no replacement for him at all. There's just no backup for him. So if we lose him, we're snookered. I'd say keep him at all costs.
But have we not sort of done all right without him for most of this season?
I agree with him. I agree with this. I agree with.
We did all right, but I prefer to have him. That's for sure.
The thing is, and that's the weird dichotomy. I absolutely agree with what Mickey's saying, but the facts say that we've survived without him in key fixtures, particularly both derbies. So it's a weird one. When fit, he's the best defender in the league by an absolute mile, and I would agree with Mickey. He's probably our best player when fully fit. But the concern is he reliable, and is that fitness impacted now? And I hope it's just a niggle and he can come back. But like, there's now been a couple of setbacks, and it's, he's in for 3 and he's out for a couple, and I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully this winter break will have helped him. A bit of sunshine. So. Yeah.
And we'll end that on a cheery note. Michael Ross, my missus always calls him Cameron Carter-Vickers. Well, I wonder will she be calling the Rapid Vienna guy Nickerless Kun? Because that's what I call him. That's hilarious. Okay, let's move on to social media choices. I don't think I got one from you, Mickey. So we'll start with this one. A little change of tone here, Paul.
Yeah, so just a little one from down my neck of the woods. Stephen Labour, unfortunately, was confirmed as passing away in the last few days. He was a Socceroo who played. He was capped between 2000 and 2004. I think he had. Sorry, just let me get my notes. I've lost it. Yeah, probably. I think 15, 20 caps during that period. He was a centre back. He was just before the golden generation of the Aussie team that sort of had Cahill and those guys that sort of pushed on and did a fair bit. But yeah, all his teammates sort of really positive about him, and unfortunately, it's been confirmed in the last little while that he took his own life, aged 46. So he's only a year older than me. He went through his career, and then he came out as gay in 2021. Obviously, like a lot of people, kept that hidden. He's obviously been dealing with various other bits and pieces from a mental health point of view. So really, really sad story, again, about, players that post-career find it hard in the aftermath of that career. So yeah, just a bit of a shout out to a guy who's been a Socceroo and had a good solid career, and according to like all his ex-teammates was a great bloke, but didn't feel able to get the help that was clearly needed. And so yeah, I guess just an opportunity to remind people again to take the opportunity to seek help and chat to people and reach out. And for anyone else listening, obviously keep an eye out for your mates. As blokes, it's sometimes hard to ask for help, so check in with your mates and do that. And I think, Gav, you're going to put some links in the notes of support both down here in Australia and in the UK, and probably potentially elsewhere of support if you need it. So yeah, just a bit somber, but I thought it was worth recognising for an ex-Socceroo and a pretty sad story at a young life lost.
Yeah, there's a couple of links in the show notes for people who might need them. That's a tweet from Subway Socceroos that we're showing there. As Keith mentions there, it says, it's okay not to be okay, so speak out. Text a day your close pals helps so much. Yeah, so reach out to friends or family, or obviously if you can't, then there are resources available you can speak to. So yes, that's quite somber. That's very sad state of affairs. Massive change of tone now for my one in an instant as I click this other tab. No one else could defend a free kick like the Beatles. That's mine. Saw that photo and thought it was pretty funny. No? Well, maybe I was the only one who found that funny, but there you go.
It's been well, that one's been done the rounds a fair bit, but yeah, John's obviously decided to go in front of the wall instead of behind it. But it's a fair set of strides from Waka. So yeah,
Some cracking clothes there. All right. Well, look, we'll leave it at that, gents. We will see you on the next show on Monday, where we will have a game to review, which is even
That
more
last.
exciting. So
It's
we're
been
all looking
painful
forward
with no
to that.
football, I have to say.
No disrespect to Buckie Thistle, but I hope we've got loads of goals to talk about scored by the team in green and white
Piling on the agony, hopefully.
and putting on the style. All right, gents. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Well, loads of comments. Kaiser wants us to mention Sanjay the Hun Slayer. That's for anyone who's active on Twitter. You can check that out. That's a reactionary force to some of the darker elements of Twitter coming from the other side of the city. So you can enjoy that if you wish to, if you like that sort of thing. But we're all about the love here on the Celtic World. So it's with love that we close the show and say, see you on Monday. Hail, hail.
hail, hail.
Hail, hail.